Building Character is brought to you by the United States Marine Corps.
What's up, wrestling fans? We're back at it again here at we're at Jeff's gym, okay, hanging out.
That's right, Fitness Quest 10, baby.
So where wrestlers got to work out. You got to work out all the time in the gym. But we're powered by the United States Marines here on the Wrestling Podcast, San Diego County. We got the Southern section now we're going to talk about in just a little bit. But real quick, let's get into the game of the week we had last week. San Marcos, Rancho Buena Vista dual meet at San Marcos. What stood out to you when you saw Bernie Truex of Rancho Buena Vista wrestle?
Yeah, definitely. I knew Truex is going to be coming back fired up after a tough tournament at Battle for the Belt. I know he was expected to be in the finals and potentially win that tournament. So I was expecting nothing less than an aggressive performance, to say the least, which that's exactly what he did, and went out there and went after his opponent, attacked him on top, and got a quick pin. So that was cool to see, and I'm looking, as you go into the final part of season, it's better to take those losses at a tournament like the Battle for the Belt and learn your lessons and be ready to go when it counts at the Masters and State tournament.
So Bernie was the one of the main bright spots for Rancho Buena Vista, but San Marcos dominated the rest of the meet and proven why they're a top 4 program in San Diego. We were able to watch Shane Finney of San Marcos also. What can you talk about when you talk about Shane Finney?
Yeah, Finney at 170s. He's a good, well-rounded wrestler. He's a grinder, grinded his opponent out. I think they went all 3 periods, but it was cool to see him come away with a solid win. And yes, definitely San Marcos is a deep program, well-rounded, great coach there with Ryan Williams. He was a state champ during my generation for La Costa Canyon. And so both coaches, Ryan Williams and Juan Mora, shout out to both of them. They're both young and involved, and I know that there's just going to be good stuff coming down throughout the years from those 2 programs.
Well, you had a nice personal relationship with the Rancho Buena Vista coach. Long time battle throughout your entire life in the wrestling mats. Can you enlighten us a little bit on that?
Yeah, definitely. Juan Mora went to Rancho Buena Vista where he now coaches, and him and I have battled since back in our middle school, high school days, wrestling freestyle, and then throughout high school grinding. We battled in college where he was at Cal State Fullerton, I was at UC Davis. We used to have battles back and forth, and just a tough wrestler, and we're really good friends today, so it's pretty cool.
Long time enemies now, long time friends in the wrestling world. So let's get into our top 10s. We'll start with San Diego section first, and we'll get to the Southern section, and you can enlighten us about what you think about Southern section wrestling in a second. So a couple teams right on the cusp are Mount Carmel, Valhalla, and Cathedral. They all have 1 or 2 guys that are ranked very high in state, so that's why they're getting some votes. As we go from 10 to 1, it's mostly based on how many guys you have ranked, and the higher ranked you are per weight class, the more points you get for ranking. So number 10, University City. Rancho Buena Vista, who we were talking about earlier, is number 9. Steel Canyon out in Jamul is number 8. Ramona is 7. LCC is 6. And then we'll get into the top 4. San Marcos and Mater Dei tied at 4 apiece in the rankings, and then Brawley, RB, and Poway, of course, round up the top 10. So you wanted to talk a little bit about San Marcos and the type of program they had.
Yeah, definitely. Young and well-rounded. I think they just got a good, deep program and good coaching staff, and so I think that they're going to be a team to watch, not only going into the final part of this season, but also in the next couple years as well.
So let's real quick, let's talk about the Southern section. We haven't covered them yet this year, but it's part of our expanding role here in the Wrestling Podcast as we're covering all wrestling in Southern California. So you've wrestled in the Southern section. Before we get into the top 10, give us the lowdown of who's usually good. What's it like to wrestle in the Southern section?
Definitely. The Southern section is the largest section in the state of California. My understanding of it is that there's 800 plus high schools in the state of California and a lot of different sections, but the Southern section contains about 400 of those high schools. So you can understand just the depth of that section. I mean, they qualify, I think, top 8 to state as opposed to San Diego, which qualifies top 3 to state. So a very deep, large area of the state that it covers. Our generations change. I remember the teams that stood out to me back when I was in high school. Temecula was up there with Calvary Chapel, Santa Ana, Northview. There's still some of the other same teams that were up there, but there also have been programs in the past decade that have risen up, and it's cool to see some new programs that are up there in the top.
So without further ado, let's get into our top 10 here for the southern section. Starting at number 10 is Valencia, then Roland is 9, Santa Ana 8, Downey 7, Servite 6, Esperanza 5, Sultana 4, Santiago 3, Northview 2, St. John Bosco 1. What names stick out to you the most here?
Well, those top 2 teams stick out the most to me just because, first of all, Northview, they go back to an old rival of ours at Temecula, and they've always just consistently put out really tough wrestlers. So Northview's just a great program, a lot of history there. And then St. John Bosco, they're a powerhouse in not only wrestling but other sports, football.
They're definitely a powerhouse in football,
big time. But really cool about St. John Bosco right now is a couple of the top college wrestlers in the country. The Valencia brothers came out of St. John Bosco, and they're sophomores at Arizona State, and they have a younger brother on the team and also on St. John Bosco team right now. I believe he's a freshman or a sophomore, and their dad is involved with the coaching staff, so I know that there's some real talent on the coaching staff, on the wrestling team, and they're definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Well, we got a proud Temecula Valley alum right here. As you know, he tells us about it all the time, but we have some history playing out this week for Temecula Valley, and since we're covering the southern section now, we had to tell it. So, Jeff, tell us what historical feat could go down this week for Temecula Valley in the state of California.
Yes, definitely. Very proud of my alma mater and my coaches, Arnold Alpert and Lyndon Campbell. Very involved and dedicated to the sport of wrestling, and they've been co-head coaches at Temecula for over 20 years, and tonight they are going for their state record 30th league title. So as you can see, for a long time, Temecula has been dominant in our area, and that's all credit to our coaches, Arnold Alpert and Lyndon Campbell.
Ted was showing me around when we checked out Battle for the Belt, went to the wrestling room, and they listed all the league championships, and I lost track of how many I counted in a row, and I was like, does anybody beat Temecula Valley in wrestling up in the southern section, Inland Empire type area? But the answer is no. So hopefully they win their 30th straight, break a state record, and that'll be that. I did notice, though, a little backtrack of last week, Rancho Buena Vista, San Marcos. Rancho Buena Vista had the bleached hair look that Temecula Valley had. What's going on with that?
I'm going to call one more out right now and say that they definitely copied us. They didn't have bleached hair back when I was in high school, but it's pretty cool to see. It's definitely a neat tradition. We've always done it at Temecula Valley. Brings the team together, a little team bonding, and so that's pretty cool.
It's cool that they, he just loved going against you all the time with the bleached hair. He just thought, maybe I got to get my wrestlers like Jeff Bristol as well. So that's what RBV is doing with the bleached hair. So real quick, tomorrow there's a meet, Mira Mesa, Scripps Ranch, big time rivalry in most sports, as they're just the 15 separates them, pulls a lot of kids from the same areas. But you're going to be at the game tomorrow, or the match, I'm sorry.
Good correction.
Good correction. I get so many sports here that I have to talk about. So the match tomorrow, you train one of the kids that's in it, Chaz Hallmark. He's ranked pretty decently high for Scripps Ranch. Enlighten us, give us a little breakdown of what we're going to see tomorrow.
Yeah, just recently started training this kid. Really talented on his feet, and I know last year he, I believe, took 5th at Masters and was a state an alternate for state qualifier. So really looking to watch him go out there and take it to his opponent for sure. Looking forward to watching Chaz tomorrow.
Also looking forward to seeing Mira Mesa. We didn't get to see him yet. Their coach emailed us, Craig Van Dyke. We're going to be checking you guys out tomorrow, seeing what Mira Mesa wrestling is all about. I did see Cameron Chow, 113 weight class for Mira Mesa. He's having a hell of a season. He's ranked in the top 50 in state, so we're excited to go see that tomorrow. As far as the rest of the weeks are concerned, we'll start spitting it out there as we get down to the final grind here. But as a wrestler, getting ready for CIFs, and you gotta finish your meets. You can't be looking ahead. What is your mindset as you try to finish out the rest of these league matches?
Definitely. This is definitely like that fourth quarter of the season. So you are definitely, at this point, you're just sharpening your skills. Not getting too far ahead of yourself. It's one step at a time. You got to take care of, your league matches, then going to CIF, and then Masters, State. So one day at a time, one match at a time, and just being very, very focused.
What if just for some odd reason, one of these highly ranked wrestlers loses in one of these dual meets? Is it that catastrophic that they lose, or is it kind of get them out now before CIF starts?
Well, yeah, definitely. I've always said that you learn a lot more from a loss than you do a win, and so it's better to lose at a home league duel than in the state finals match, or in a state qualifying or a state placing match and stuff like that. So definitely, just as far as confidence goes and stuff, it's good to get those wins and keep the ball rolling. But if you take a loss at this point of the season, like I saw Truax do at the Battle for the Belt, it's all about recovering, getting your mind right, and getting back to your top wrestling. So
we're counting down the days here. CIFs are starting up soon. The Masters are starting up soon. State, all that is going to get here before we even know it. We're excited. And for Jeff Bristol, I'm Braden Suprenant. Teddy Bristol also is here walking around. But we'll see you guys next week on the Wrestling Podcast.